President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a bid to cut down the cost of governance, have actually slashed the delegation for foreign and local delegations to about 60%. And also we are saying that, I mean, the federal government is also looking at how they can woo ASU so that they can actually maintain, education that is free of any strike whatsoever. Good afternoon and welcome to Nigeria Now on Echo Television International, where we'll be keeping you updated with all that is happening in Nigeria presently. I am Sela Elisha Dasham. I'll be doing the program with Rachel Tansey. Good afternoon,
Afternoon,
Rachel.
Sarah.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How about
I'm
you?
great, thank you so much. All right, let's take a look at a number of things that are happening,
Yes.
quite will I say surprising to a lot of Nigerians when President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu mentioned the fact that, looking at the uproar they came after the delegation that followed him to COP29, and they're looking at the fact that, we just need to cut down the cost of governance, looking at the SUVs that senators got, and some of the excuses they gave why they needed to actually purchase that car. We're saying that it seems as if the president have actually listened to the masses, because we're seeing that he has slashed the number of people that follow him, whether we're talking about locally or even we're talking about when it comes to foreign trips. And then not only to him, but then this step that he has taken, actually his office is affected, that of the vice president, the first lady, the vice president's wife as well, and then also looking at a number of ministers and also a number of very important figures in the country will be affected by this. And then we're saying that a lot of people are applauding the president. I mean, I saw a number of tweets, and then talking about X, and then a number of people are saying, okay, right now that the number has been cut short to about 20 or to about 10, depending whether it's foreign or it's local. What will now happen to the, talking about the money that have been budgeted for that? Because we know that anytime people come to defend allocation given to their sector, they always say so amount of money was being used for this. So now the number has been cut short. Hope this is not a way of other people using it in disguise to actually rob Nigerians of the national cake, which everybody is mentioning. But then I think this is a very good gesture. This is a very good step. I mean, we're also seeing projection coming from the World Bank on our, GDP, talking about 3.3%. And then despite that, I mean, a number of Nigerians will still be poor by the end of the year. But then looking at the step that the president have taken to say, we need to look into making sure that, let's cut down the cost of governance. That is for traveling. And then we're hoping to see that the cost of governance will also be cut in other various places, not just for travel. But then we'll also look at, I mean, you and I saw last year in some of the paper stories that were coming, some of the money that is being used to either talking about will I say lavish spending of our governors? Let me just put it collectively like that, talking about vegetables, and you and I could not just help but wonder why is such a huge amount of money being used for vegetables, frames, and all of that.
Fragrances.
Exactly, Rachel. So I think this is really a very good step taken by the president in, talking about the 2024, and then we hope to see more as the year goes by.
I mean, Sarah, it's absolutely something that we have to applaud President Bola for doing that, because others have to follow suit, of course. Hopefully they have to, but I'll never stop saying certain things need to be passed into bills and laws eventually. That, I mean, for the president's office, any trip international shouldn't be more than 20. If it's within, it shouldn't be more than 25, and all of that. The number is good. I mean, this 60% cut is good. Now we're down to 40%. The number is okay. Looking at, of course, his security details are going to be the majority. It is a good one, and then it's okay. And if people are raising concern about the budget, there's what is called a budget surplus, that accountability and transparency should be able to allow the government to be transparent when they eventually have a surplus, in the sense that you made an estimate that this year we are going to be traveling and it will cost us 100 million. But now with the new
slashing the number of people,
exactly, and then the budget was for 30 people and now you're down to 20 people, and then in the end of the year you realize that, okay, we ended up spending 60 million rather than what was projected as 100 million for travel. Then you now have a balance brought forward from the previous year to the next year concerning what you use, and then you are ending up having a surplus for your budget because you didn't end up spending what you estimated would be your expenditure. If we see that kind of transparency, that is also another salute that we are going to give to the president, because eventually that is what it should mean. Because if what was budgeted for traveling was 100 billion, for example, for the whole year of 2024, now we are seeing this new development, then that shouldn't go into travel. Eventually we should be able to see the rest of the money being carried over. But we just hope that it's not just another covered way that we will just see money going, and it will look like we're making progress, it looks like we're cutting down the cost of governance, and then nothing to show for it, because yes, the 2024 budget has been passed, has been signed, and we know that things have been allocated for certain things already, and then there's no going back on it. So this, we will just keep looking forward to really seeing if we will have that kind of surplus. And I'm hoping to see that,
of course,
amount of transparency and accountability eventually when 2025 budget is being presented, and what the financial expenditure or year looks like. Yes, definitely, for the presidency. And then hopefully we will start seeing that we no longer treat official jobs like vacation, because why is everybody clamoring to go, even when you don't even have a responsibility there? You just want to go and chill with taxpayers' money or what? I just hope that this will just make people understand that this administration means business, and it's no longer vacation. It's not national cake, it's Nigerian money, and it should be accounted for eventually.
You know, Rachel, another concern I saw on X is another, concerned Nigerian that said, hope this is not one of those order given by the president. Remember, there was an order that was given that every VIP escort should be withdrawn. And then we're still seeing a number of them still going around. And just like you made mention, there are certain things that should be made a law that is mandated that every public office holder must follow. And then a lot of Nigerians are raising, that other one still did. We're still seeing a pocket of other elder statesmen still having VIP, escort with them, and then when they are not supposed to be having. But then how is the president going to follow up this? Because already a lot of people are applauding him that at least he tried, he printed a document and it has been signed. So that is to say that anything that have the signature of the president should be followed to the latter. But then one thing, the problem we've been having in this country, Richard, it's not about setting a particular law, but it's implementing it, making sure that it's being followed, making sure that let us see that our ministers are actually having limited number. Let us see that our first lady is not going with a number of people that are not even needed. You made mention of that. A lot of people just follow because it's Dubai, we just want to have fun and all of that, and then meanwhile you have nothing to do with the environment or anything that has to do with weather change. So why were you there in the first place? So we just hope that this will not be one of those things, but it should be one of those laws that the president will be serious. He will make sure that what, this is part of the thing that we're trying to save money, and it will really save us costs if we look at that. I remember you made mention of the fact that we're still waiting for men like Kyari to give us the remaining money that we're supposed to be saving for fuel subsidy. And we're yet to hear how much we have realized so far. And then that money, we should be able to channel it into making sure that, let our refineries wake up from the sleep that they are sleeping. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed, Richard. I believe that the president has the best interest of the country at heart. That was why he took that step. So let us make sure that his cabinet and people that are supposed to make sure that this is being implemented the right way will be implemented as well. Now, we started a story last week regarding the issue of fake certificate, where we saw, a youth corporal presently that said he actually schooled in Cotonou, and then he was able to obtain a certificate in 6 weeks, and then presently he's actually with the NYSC. And this particular story brought about a lot of reactions coming from Nigerians, in fact, to the point that the Minister of Education felt that he needs to take this up. That is to say, there are a number of private universities that are actually issuing fake degrees, and we saw where, the likes of ASU and the rest are coming up to say that, most of our professors here are not really having any fake certificate whatsoever. They actually went through the due process of schooling and education, and whatever certificate they are having is actually legit. But then we're having a number of resource of private universities across Kenya, Uganda, UK, and a number of other tertiary institutions that presently are being on suspension temporarily until pending investigation. Now we're seeing that ASU have said, you know what, about 170 private universities will be going through thorough investigation because they need, possibly maybe they have made it to the red books or the black book of the Ministry of Education. That's why they need to follow up. But I think I really have to applaud it in as much as a 6-man committee have been said. But then, you know, it's not about the committee, Rachel. It's spending the time they'll give us the outcome. Imagine after passing through the tertiary institution, and you just get to realize that, you know what, after struggling to be in a private university, the certificate you're holding is actually fake. It will really, really be a heavy blow on a lot of people. But then right now, fingers are crossed. Let us see what the outcome of this investigation will be coming from the Ministry of Education.
I mean, Stella, this is one of the situations that I love playing blame game with. Who is to blame for all of this if we are looking at 170 universities that could be red flagged for having fake certificates and all of that? Okay, we don't have jurisdiction in Kenya, Uganda, Cotonou, and any other country. Although we should have things to put in place to make sure that I am coming to the embassy, I am coming to get, we have people leaving to say, okay, you have gone out to school and you come back with a certificate. We also have the responsibility to make sure that, you know what, whoever is coming back into this country presenting a international certificate, we should also have what we put in place to make sure that, first of all, yes, who the student living in Nigeria is going to a real legal licensed university in whatever country it is, and when they're coming back, we also supposed to have things to put in place to make sure that, you know what, this doctor that went to Malaysia is coming back with a real medical certificate that he actually schooled in a certified accredited school in Malaysia and all of that. We're supposed to have all of these things in place so that regardless of how smart an individual might be or a system might be in another country that decides to be, you know, corrupt, we will have our own precepts put in place to make sure that we are smarter than such system. But we don't have that. Now we can come back to our own country and say, okay, why are we having this? This probe is going to look into 15 years. We're not just looking at 10 years. This is a time frame where a lot of us have not even gone to the university yet. And then you are looking at this period. That is, we've had a lot of people for 10, 15 years now out there and probably with fake certificate because the varsities are not accredited. They don't have adequate funding. They don't have management structure that is approved by the Nigerian standard of education. And then you wonder, what have the NUC been doing?
Of course, the question I was about to ask, Rachel.
Exactly. That's why I said this is the kind of situation that is okay to, you know, do the blame game here. Like, who is to fault for certain things? Because if, say, I as a parent or as a ward, I look up school and I see, for example, that Rachel University is a university and then is offering my course, and they have a website, they have a location, they have everything put in place, and I apply and I get admitted and I go through my 4 years and then I do every examination there. It was as normal as it is for me, and then later you tell me that my certificate is fake. Now, whose fault is it that I have a fake certificate? Is it for me that went to a school that should have been approved by the government? You allowed this school to function in the first place. What have NUC been doing that now people have to pay for the price of what someone
should have actually done?
Exactly,
investigation that was carried by
exactly.
them in the first
It means we have a lot of people coming out with certificates from faculties that were not accredited
in the first place.
It will,
and they can't go for service.
And they can't go for service. And then imagine people that have been practicing for years, because this is now coming to the radar. So imagine before it came, people that have been practicing and obviously are half-baked and they didn't even know they are, because for some reason they had no idea that their university is not even supposed to function in the first place and all of that. So for me, all fingers, Sele, in every direction points back to the Nigerian government. We need to wake up, because there's little or less you and I can do. It's just like when we had the whole case of of organ harvesting.
you know,
And I
Rachel.
said, there's little I can do as an individual. When I'm going to a hospital, I'm not going to say, doctor, can I see your,
Your
certificate?
certificate.
Can I see your license to
Of
have
course.
this degree? I'm a patient, I am sick, I need help. I'm looking at the result, and my hope is for the result after, not whether my doctor is certified or not. So who is the person in the position to make sure that is responsible that such don't even exist in the first place? And this is where the question is rising. So yes, it's okay, let the education minister try to probe and go to the root of the case, but it still just shows that the Nigerian government is failing us every day, in as much as we try to be hopeful. But there's a lot of gap and loopholes and failures that we can see now, the effect on people who are open to move forward and then for some reason can't.
You know, Rachel, while you were talking, I think there's a lot of work. This looks deeper than it
It
looks.
does look deeper,
The reason why I said that is because, Rachel, if we are having that Minister of Education is actually going to probe this over 100 private universities.
Yes, private universities.
specifically.
Yeah.
Now, let's go down to even some of the primary and secondary schools that are operating, Rachel.
Mhm.
We have a number, we can actually, in fact, we can't count them,
They are all
of
around
schools
us.
that are operating that
Mhm.
have not been licensed. In fact, I'm
Yes.
not sure the various commissioners of education are aware that there is this one-room bedroom apartment that has
Yes,
been
that
turned
is
to a school.
Exactly.
And yet we have students that are coming, and no wonder we keep having cases of maltreatment,
Mhm.
sexual assault
Yes, in
going on in
schools,
most
true.
of these facilities that are quote unquote are supposed to be a learning environment, but are not. So there is a lot of work, Rachel,
There
to be
is.
done here, because honestly, if we're looking at 10 years, 15 years, just like you rightly mentioned, a number of us have not even gotten admission yet. So
Yes.
imagine realizing that. I mean, just imagine, Rachel. In fact, it's so ugly, the scene that
It
is
is.
actually painting in my mind, because I'm just imagining going to the hospital for maybe just having an appendix, and then you realize that, I mean, a liver is missing or a kidney is missing. Why?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there was this Dr. XYZ, that actually was not certified. Why? Because he got a fake certificate. Just like you rightly mentioned, whose responsibility is it to vent it? I mean, Rachel, most of the admissions we have presently are supposed to be given by JAM. So
Yes.
it's expected that JAM knows that
Exactly,
all
knows
these
these
universities
schools,
have
exactly.
been
It's
actually
still going back to
accredited.
the government selling.
Most of the admissions are being
Yes.
given by JAM. Very
Yeah.
few admissions are being given by the school.
Yeah.
So we're talking about tertiary institutions, very few private universities, and even private universities, they have been registered. So that is why you will
Yes.
see that. I mean, you're here and then you will be given admission in one of those private universities.
True.
Why? Because JAM have seen that you are actually qualified to school there. So, Rachel, you have little or nothing to do on setting an admission, except if you're going outside the country,
Of course.
which you need to seek for either half scholarship, or depending on how you want to run that
Yes.
program. So there is a lot of work to be done, honestly, Rachel, because, I mean, looking at this thing, you will know that, you know what, a lot of people have been sleeping on their duties.
A lot.
And I just hope that this is the right time for them to wake up. Enough of coming after certain ministers because we feel that our funds are not being well taken care of. How about the lives of people? Imagine people who died because they were being diagnosed by doctors, nurses,
Who are not
midwives that
qualified.
actually did not go through the right process of learning. Why? Because certain people failed to do their responsibility. Here we're seeing federal government is looking into how they can even woo ASU not to go on strike. And I just hope that it's not just about saying, you know what, please, you guys should not go on strike. You guys
It
should
looks
stay
like
back.
that.
But then
Looks
it's
like
making
that,
sure
Sele.
that you put everything in place. No wonder we're still seeing our doctors are still living. And the painful part is that most of our public figures that are going out abroad to get treatment are being treated by Nigerian doctors as well.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Why not make sure that everything is in place? So if we are going to start talking, Rachel, you realize that we'll leave education, we'll touch health and discover that a lot of things are not working there. And then we'll come back to our transport and realize that, you know what, there's still kidnapping in Abuja, Kaduna Expressway. And then while you are still trying to help yourself, now realize that, you know what, there's no food. What is the Minister of Agriculture doing? So you know what, everybody's actually, there is a lot of work to be done. And I hope that we really do the work that is expected, because if we are looking at checking for these fake degrees, then we need to even start from the grassroots, from the primary schools, from the secondary schools. Are you sure that all of these schools are actually being accredited? Are you sure that they are up to date? the standard of everything. I mean, the building facilities that I needed. I sure that everything is there. And then you can now go to the tertiary institution. So I just hope that the Minister of Education will really do his best. Let's see what the outcome of this investigation coming from this 6-man committee will be. But I hope that it will not be so ugly that we cannot stand it. But I just hope that any university that is operating that's not been licensed should be shut down. I think it's very, very important, so that we'll be able, even if we have just few schools and we are sure that, you know what, the standard of education is really, really doing well, and then these universities have been accredited. I mean, it will be a kudos to us, rather than realizing that after practicing with a certificate. Rachel, I don't even want to imagine that my certificate is not original. I mean, it's really going to break my heart. So I hope that they will do their job, and then we'll come up with something tangible that will help the educational sector to thrive better. And I think that's how far we can come, Rachel. Thank you for doing this with me. All right, and also thank you to our viewers at home for keeping a date with us on Nigeria Now. Until we come again tomorrow, do have a blessed day ahead.